All right, everybody, what's up? Uh, I'm getting ready to go on my little morning drive here. I'm in the yard. In the yard, getting ready to take off. Don't really have a topic or anything. I'm still trying to get certain things together so that I can do pre-recorded videos, and that's what I've been working on. I just got my intro taken care of, and doing a few little other things. I'm off on Sunday, Mondays, and Tuesdays, so those will probably be my days when I'll be dropping videos on the regular. But as for now, I've been kind of focusing on my family. I got my daughter and her friend just moved back in with me. This corona kind of hit them pretty hard. So I got my daughter back at home with my grandson and her friend, trying to help them get on their feet, find them employment out here and different things of that nature. So I haven't really been doing any videos at home. So that's why I've been kind of like in my truck and, just talking here and there. But I just think that it's been a lot of stuff going on here in this social media streets. I mean, a lot of crazy stuff. Um, Rumors that Sansa Ray passed away, that she committed suicide, and that was kind of, hitting me pretty hard. The last couple of days, I was just like in shock when I heard the whole situation behind her. And it just got me to thinking about social media and how we, especially in black social media, how we interact with each other. It's just ridiculous. And it's not just the men, by the way. That's one thing I do want to put out there. I see a lot of women, when Sansa Ray, the news hit that she might have committed suicide because of bullying on social media. I saw a lot of women immediately blaming the men for, something like that happening. And then I also saw, because I was watching Crystal and Kara's channel, and I think that her and Kendall St. Charles did an excellent job of breaking it down. But, there is a lot of bullying and beefing, in this social media world, and it's not about, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. I get so irritated when I hear people talking like that. Because why would you have to, or why should anyone have to tolerate bullying behavior? People should be able to go in spaces without having to deal with that nonsense. So the mere fact that, we're telling each other, if you can't deal with it, just don't do it. How about, why not just, we don't tolerate the bullies in these spaces? We run away some really good people that have great information, like Sansa Ray. She was an inspiration to me. You know, I used to watch her videos, and her candor was the first thing that popped out at me. Just how willing she was to be open with people and to share of her life. And really admired that in her, because I know how difficult that is, and I'm quite sure that there's probably quite a few things she did not share with the rest of us. But the fact that she was strong enough, to share her relationship failures, to share the fact that she became a baby mother in real time, especially in an online atmosphere where it was kind of a hostile environment towards single mothers. But she was willing to share that with the rest of us, and she got tore down and bullied for it. And it wasn't just by men. I'm going to go back to my original point. You know, Kendall St. Charles and Crystal and Carrison broke it down the best to me, because they were breaking down how other black women bullied Sansa Ray. And I I can attest to that. When I first had my channel, it wasn't just the mere fact of people just disagreeing, but you had other women coming into the chat room just just wanting to tear me down as a person, as an individual, just making very, very personal attacks towards me as a person. So when I think about Sansa Ray, and I think about what she had to endure when she shared her life, when she was so open in sharing her life, I can imagine how that weighed heavy on her. I remember for myself, it got to the point where I just had to take a break. Now, I thank goodness that I do not rely on social media to pay my bills. So I don't have to keep coming back here on a regular basis. Hi, Water Sniper. Thank you. Water Sniper's always giving me compliments. I thank God that I do not have to, continuously come on here for my bread and butter. I'm glad that I have a regular job because, dealing with the public on a regular basis, it can take a toll on you, especially in this particular space. I don't know what it is. I believe it's that crabs in the barrel mentality with a lot of our people, where we do like to beat up on each other and we like to kind of put each other down. And it's not even just a put down, but we are just really trying to destroy one another mentally and emotionally. Too much. Just way too much. And I see a lot of that going on in this social media community. And yeah, I have, I've pulled back quite a few times, and I will, continue to do that because you have to for your own mental health. I thank God that I do have friends and family and people in real life that I can, deal with besides dealing with this on a regular basis. And, I just really hated that, that wasn't the case with Sansa Ray, because like I said, she was beautiful, she was brilliant. Her videos were very inspirational, especially to the audience that she geared her videos towards. And I would always hang out in the clouds and watch her videos. I watch everybody. I listen to everybody. Listening is a good skill, people. I mean, that's the only way that you're going to be able to have a more circular view on different issues. But at any rate, like I said, it was a tragedy. It's our loss that we no longer have her here. I was just, I sent the email to LAR movement earlier this week, and this was before I knew anything about her passing. And I really thought that those two would have did well with a collaboration because both of them are single parents. And I was just saying to LAR, I say you really should get with Sansa Ray, and you guys should discuss co-parenting and child support. And then, like literally 2 days later, I find out that this happened. So it's been a rough week. But then other things that I've been looking at too, I just don't like the interaction between black men and black women on this social media platform. I never have. I've always maintained that this gender war thing, this is a mute point. It's stupid. We waste a lot of time on it. And unfortunately, it's on both sides, of the aisle that we're kicking this thing up. I can't blame the men more so than the women because the women are kicking it up too. But I will say this, I believe I was listening to C Boogie. It was my first time listening to him, and he had some interesting perspectives on black men and how they, pretty much interact with women in our community. And he was talking about the non-select men and how they're kind of bitter And that's the reason why, they pretty much beat up on black women. They want to tear down the self-esteem of black women to make them more sexually accessible. And I have always maintained that too. I mean, that's not a hard conclusion to come to when you listen to some of these people. So a lot of these guys do not want to do any work at all when it comes to courting a woman. The courting thing in our generation is over. And so when you listen to some of these guys online, you get to thinking, okay, this guy, he gets it. He gets it. He understands what's going on. This might be a perfect example of a black man that I want to listen to. And then the next day, I go into C Boogie's chat room and he's talking about sex. Okay, I don't mind talking about sex. We're all grown. As a matter of fact, I'm part of some sex groups. And you got to have a stomach for some of this stuff because a lot of the stuff that, people talk about, it goes way over my head. I have a lot of old fashioned views. But, I also do believe in keeping it spicy. So, I do, listen. Like I said, I listen to everybody. And one thing that he said yesterday that kind of turned me off was that if the penis is so good that women will share it. And that made me pause for a second. And I had to think about what he was saying. He was saying if the sex is good to a woman, if it's so good, she will share the penis. And this is what he put out there. And I was just thinking to myself, wow, I would never, as freaky as I am, and I can get pretty freaky, but but I'm not here to talk about my sexual exploitations. But I will say this, yeah, I know what to do. But as freaky as I am, I would never knowingly share a man with another woman. And that's even with knowing that the numbers are not really in our favor with the men in our community. Now, I did a video some years ago and I was talking about the number of black women to black men. And I'm just going to put it out there, the type of black men that a lot of black women envision themselves with, the breadwinner, the type of black man that you can get the bags from, sort of thing that most of these black women want. There's only about 20% of black men that fall into that elite category, okay, of get the bag type men. Then you have about, I want to say, 20 to 25% that are poor or working poor. Okay? So that leaves about 55% of black men who are making a median income. So majority of our men are not in that six-figure range. They do okay, but they're not in that six-figure range. They're blue-collar guys. And I sit here and I listen to all this rhetoric online, people that have not done any type of research into this. Now, if you're a get the bag type woman, that means that you are opening your dating options outside of just black men, because if you're just talking about getting the bag with black men, you're pretty much relegating the women to maybe about 20% of the eligible population of black men that fall into the elite category that makes that type of money. And a lot of them are already married, by the way. Then I sit back and I think about the blue collar man again. And there's nothing wrong with a blue collar man, personally. But how many of our men fall into this category? Now, you have to also take into consideration the school to prison pipeline, which has actually slowly gotten better over the years because the whole gang banging and drug dealing thing is pretty much played out in our communities. Thank God. So we don't have as many black men going to jail anymore as we had in the past. We still, have a high incarceration rate. Don't get me wrong, but it has dwindled down. So now, if this continues to happen, what I'm projecting, because I'm seeing the numbers, there will be more marriage age black men for marriage age black women to get with if this continues to happen. If black men continue to improve, continue to not go to prison, continue to not kill each other, and continue to get educated or learn trades, there will be an even number. I would say within the next 20 to 30 years even. And I've actually done the research and crunched the numbers on this. So this is not Faith just talking out the side of her neck. Now, with that said, with there being more eligible younger black men out there for these young black women to marry, there's going to be a shift in the dating competition. I'm just going to prepare you guys for it. It's going to be a shift. Because right now, I submit to you that there's a lot of bitter Generation X and baby boomer men out here that are sabotaging the younger generation of black men. And I've said this in other videos. They're sabotaging the younger generation of black men because they themselves want the younger black women. And that's all you hear them talk about online. They hate older women. They don't want the women in their own generation. So they're teaching the younger generation of men to hate black women as a whole. Good morning, Sheila E. They're teaching the younger generation of black men to hate black women as a whole. And I see this sabotagery for what it is. These older generation of black men are in competition with these young men, and the young men had better watch some of these older black men, because I don't see them giving them any good advice at all. I don't see them doing any of this research, because if you look back at the numbers, if you look at how things are trending now, if you look at how black men are not dying at the high rates that they used to, if you look at how black men are not being imprisoned at the high rates that they used to, even though we are still the most likely to be incarcerated, but those numbers are going down. I'm starting to see more marriage-aged black men out here for these young women to marry. And these older black men are going to have competition. And they don't want that, because they have, for the longest time, had free reign over all the young black women, because the young black men, silly as they were eliminating themselves, basically, either by prison or death. But those numbers are changing drastically. And so now these older black men are starting to have competition. Y'all pay attention to what I'm saying. Within the next 20 to 30 years, you're going to see a drastic change in the numbers if this continues to occur. Now, I used to sit back and wonder, why are these older black men telling the younger black men not to get married? Why are they talking down on marriage? Why are they telling the younger black men to flee the women that live here in the United States and go get women way off in other lands? And it makes perfect sense to me now. They're sending the younger group of black men off because they have competition right here. Because their old behinds are right here. They're sending the younger men off so that they can have access to the young women for themselves. I truly do believe that this is what is going on. And their old, bitter behinds are angry because they're not able to get the women that they want. And that's one thing that I do agree with C Boogie. You know, a lot of stuff that I heard him say in the last couple of days that I've been listening to his broadcast. These older guys are bitter because they can't get the women that they want. And anybody with an observant eye would be able to pick up on that. But, you know, I would warn the younger generation of black men, watch these old ass Negroes. Watch these old ass Negroes. You know, a lot of them have sold a lot of the younger generation of black men up the river by even putting them on to the school to prison pipeline with the drugs and the gang activities back in the 80s and 90s. And now they're sending them off again, talking about some get your passports and go travel way across the world from women that you currently have so we can have them all to ourselves. You got to watch these old, bitter ass black men, because they will sit up here and they will make a grandiose point and it will sound great. It will make sense to you. But when you really get to crunching the numbers and breaking it down, these older black men got competition now, because now these younger black men are not going to jail. They're not killing themselves like they used to. And now they're around getting all the young black poon nanny. So what are these older black men going to do in their frustration of having to be in competition with much younger, virulent, better looking men? They're going to tell these young men not to marry. They're going to tell these young men, oh, get the hell out of here. They're going to send you off. That's what they're doing. And you all are falling for it, by the way. Oh, these women ain't shit. We want you to hate these women. They ain't about nothing. So while you're hating these women, they cozying up to them with their old ass, throwing their little $40 around, talking about how the black women, if you sex them down real good, they'll share the punani. They'll pass around to their friends. This is what a lot of these men, this is the message that I'm hearing a lot of these men put out here. And it's garbage. All of it is garbage. And, you know, I can't blame the men in totality. I can't. Sheila E. says some of them are bitter and making the younger ones like them. Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. But let's get back to my point about not blaming the men in totality, because the women are complacent. Now, I was over in C Boogie's chat, and when he made that comment about women sharing the penis, if you sex them down good enough, I, you know, being the vocal person that I am, I said, well, I would never, ever consider sharing any penis with anybody. I don't care how good it is. And there was a woman in the chat room, a black woman, that said, oh, Faith, we're going to be sharing men anyway, so, you know, what's the big deal? This is a black woman. Young, stupid. Black woman. They get them young and they get them dumb. Yes, she said that to me. An older black woman that knows better. Like she teaching me something. Let me tell a lot of you younger sisters something. You got to live a little first before you approach an older woman with your bullshit. Do I have to repeat that again? You got to live a little first before you approach an older woman with your bullshit. Can't no young woman come to me, an older woman, and tell me some stuff about men talking about you're going to share a penis because you think that's what's happening right now. That goes to show me your naivety as a woman. It shows me that you don't even know who you are yet, that you don't even know your own value as a woman. And I just shook my head at her comment because she's in this party stage in her life. You guys like to call it the whole phase. And that's what I chalked that up to, the whole phase. She's in her whole phase. And she's talking to me, an older woman that done been there, done that. And know that that's not where it's at. So I said to her, no, I said I would not ever consider sharing any penis. And she said, well, we don't have control over men's bodies, Faith. This is what she tells me. This is me, ad-libbing the conversation. She says, Faith, we don't have control over men's bodies, so we're going to be sharing. I said, you know what, young lady? I said, let me correct myself so that you can understand. Faith will never knowingly be sharing any penis with any of you heifers out here. How about that? And see, the mere fact that she's trying to make it okay, I have a problem with that. We as black people, we always try to normalize dysfunction. And this is what this young lady was attempting to do to me. And that's what C. Boogie was doing in his conversation about sex too. Talking about they gonna share the penis if the sex is good. This is why and I can't do it, y'all. I can't. This is why STDs are running rampant in the black community, because we sit up here and we don't take things seriously. We normalize this dysfunction. We use sex as a recreational activity instead of a tool for intimacy with the person that we love and we want to be with. We've flipped everything around. And it's not just us, by the way. I don't want anyone to think that we're the worst of the worst. Chaz B98 says, I can't do it either. Exactly. Chaz, you know your worth. But it's just disheartening to me that there are quite a few black women out here with the mentality of, if you can't beat them, join them. That's basically what they've done. They've just pretty much laid themselves out in front of the door, and they've become doormats for these men. If you can't beat them, join them. That's the mentality they have. I'm not going to have any type of standards as a woman. I'm just going to give in to this dysfunctional bullshit that these men are trying to throw down. And they're going to pull it. Men are always going to try to pull it. They're going to see just how much they can get away with. Chad says is low self-esteem. They are afraid to have standards. I believe it. You know, I love my sisters, every single one of you. I don't dislike when black women are different than me. Like, I'm not a hyena like a lot of these black men like to describe me, even though I will give them a run for their money. I'm not a hyena. I'm just a black woman that ain't gonna let you get away with whatever it is that you want to do, because I do have standards. And every now and then, when the occasion calls for it, I will curse somebody out. But I'm not carrying myself like that on a daily basis. The trouble that I have with a lot of black women is that we are hyenas all the time when the occasion doesn't call for it. We attack each other sometimes more than the men attack us. There's no loyalty among us at all when it comes to penis. The desperation out here is at an all-time high when penis is involved. That's the biggest problem that I have with black women. And we are extremely self-absorbed and superficial. We sit up here and we will tear each other down, from the lace fronts on our head to the polish on our toes. We don't even approach our friendships with one another with any depth. Everything is superficial with black women. Even our friendships with each other is superficial. Some of us can't be friends with each other if we don't have on acceptable clothing, if we don't have on acceptable hairstyles, if we don't talk a certain way or act a certain way. We as black women, we have very superficial standards, even when it comes to our friendships with each other. So if we can't even choose our friends properly, how are we going to choose a man properly? Think about that for a second. You know, there are women that I've had to let go of in my life because I knew that they were going to hold me back as an individual. It comes a time, young ladies and older women, because some of you older women need to let go of that whole phase. Some of you older women never got out of your whole phase, by the way. Can I just be completely honest? Some of you older women act just as bad as the younger women. Some of you older women teach the younger women desperation. I've heard older women telling younger women that men will be men, they're going to cheat. Encouraging these women to accept relationships and situations where they're married to or in long-term relationships with men who cheat on them. And that too is bad advice. That is not teaching self-love. There's a lot of older women out here, and this is my message to the younger women. Watch some of the advice that you're getting from some of these older women. You got to watch some of these older women too. Because you got to look real careful at a person's life. I was talking to an older woman the other day. She's been married maybe 40 years now, a little bit over 40 years. She's an older lady in her 60s. Her husband's in his 70s. And her husband has always been a cheater. Her husband was abusive to her. physically abusive, emotionally abusive, financially abusive to her. And she stayed in that marriage with that man for years because she had a title. And I'm going to get real with you guys. That's what a lot of black women do. Because we get a title and we don't want to be alone, we will take some bullshit, some of us. Not a lot of us, but there are some of us that do. I see them all the time. I see sisters that are in relationships that they should have been got away from. Gia Girl says, yes, I've had to let go of a friendship with a female I've been friends with since kindergarten. My mom kept warning me, but it took years before I let her go. Chaz says the men could not get away with most of what we complain about if a large number of black women were not allowing it. That's what I eventually realized. Exactly. And you're both right. You know, you have to let go of these men that are abusive. Learn what abuse is. Now, as an older woman, you know, I've been married, I've been engaged, and now I'm single. And guess what? And this is what I tell a lot of people. When I hear black men talking about, you know, they sit up here and they use the word single and alone. You're going to be single, alone, and lonely. Guess what? I'm single, but I'm not alone, and I'm not lonely. They also say that you'll be unhappy if you don't have somebody. I'm not unhappy, by the way. All of this stuff that, you know, they try to scare you with as a woman for you staying in a relationship or trying to hurry up and get in a relationship by any means necessary. Guess what? All of it is a lie. If you cannot first be happy with you by yourself, you'll never be happy with anybody. And see, a lot of people, this is going to go over your head. You're not going to understand what I'm saying because you've been conditioned to think that right out the gate, you got to get somebody. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to be a wife one day or a girlfriend or a mother. Nothing wrong with that. But first, be your own best friend. That is the best advice that I can give you. Be your own best friend first. Learn how to cultivate meaningful friendships first. Because when you start making wise decisions with your friends that you allow into your life, then you will know and make wise decisions also about the men that you allow into your life. And no, ladies, every man that you meet, every man that you date should not be also meeting your vagina. I will say that again. Every man that you bring home should not be meeting your vagina, let alone your kids. Every man that you bring home shouldn't be meeting your vagina. We always talk about the kids not meeting every man that you bring home, but we forget to also apply that to our vaginas. Every man that you meet and bring home should not meet your vagina. And these are the standards that a lot of us are afraid to have because we've been told that what you won't do, another woman will. We've been told this. And so there's that fear dating that we do. A lot of us do a lot of fear dating. A lot of us do things out of fear that another person is going to take what we got away. Well, you have to examine exactly what is it that you get. Because some of you all are doing the most and you ain't got nothing. That's a nothing ass Negro coming around with barely a job and hardly any money, and you doing the most. But I want you to elevate your self love even further than that. Even if he had the whole bag and the kit and caboodle, does that mean that you want to kiss his ass? Because, see, to me, when I get in a committed relationship and a committed marriage with a person, it is a partnership, not a slave master ship. And that's what a lot of it starts to look like, a slave mastership. Chaz B98 says it's actually older men that are lonely, not women. They have studies about it. The older men are having issues because the older women want to live alone and keep their independence. I believe it. Because, like, right now I'm by myself, and I've been dating someone, been seeing this guy now for close to 8 months, and he's really trying to move in already. But I enjoy my my independence. Like I said, my daughter and her friend, they're living with me now, and I want them gone. I like having my own personal space. So I believe that that's true. I like being able to come and go as I please, not have anybody sitting around the house having an expectation that I do something for them, like cook or make them a sandwich, or all this demand stuff. I was married before and in a long-term relationship before, and it was kind of tiring. Men put a lot of demands on women, and I did not know how much of a demand or how much of a situation that I lived in on a daily basis, where I was always serving other people. And I was like, at first I was serving my husband, then my children came and I was in servitude to my children. And then when it came to the point where I broke up with my ex and I was finally by myself, this is the first time in my life I've ever been by myself, by myself. Do you realize, guys, I'm going to share something with you. This is the first time I've actually had my own place, that I'm not living with somebody. And I'm talking about, with a man, with my children. I was totally by myself, and it feels so good. For a year and a half, I was like in my own space, and it felt so good. Nobody talking about they want breakfast. Nobody waking me up in the middle of the night talking about they want some sex and I'm tired. No, nobody talking about, oh, when you gonna get up and vacuum that floor. Just demand after demand after demand. I had no idea that I was living in servitude to other people for so long, that when I finally got by myself and I didn't have to serve anybody but me, it felt so damn good. Y'all just don't understand. It felt damn good. Gia girls, oh, I'm sorry. Chaz B98 said, wow. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but like I said, nothing against the younger generation. I do not want to talk against marriage and relationship for younger women. I'm in a totally different phase in my life, guys. I do realize that ladies in their 20s and 30s, you guys want the marriage experience, and it is a great experience. When I was married, I did not mind serving my husband and my children. I did it happily. There's a certain joy that I get from being a mother, from being a wife. So don't get it twisted. It wasn't like I did not enjoy doing those things, but at the same time, I did not realize that I had just been working for other people for a long time. Like I said, men don't realize that women do a lot of work in the relationship. They don't. They don't realize that you're getting up and you're cooking for everybody. You're getting everybody's clothes together. You do most of the shopping for the household. You do most of everything for everybody. You're his confidant. You're his lover. you're a nurturer to him and the children. You're the nurse when somebody gets sick. You're everything to everybody. And I don't think that men value that enough. When you get a wife, you're getting all of this. And I was all of that. And I had no idea how much of myself I was giving until I finally got by myself and I realized, wow, I can kind of kick back and relax. I don't have to get up and move as fast as I used to. Gia Girl said that is the same thing for my mom, and initially it was hard, but she likes it somewhat now. She said she ain't looking for no husband, no boyfriend, no nothing, no more. Exactly. Like when you come out from under that and you realize all the work that you have been doing, because while you're doing it, it doesn't seem like work because it's a joy, especially if you love your family, you love your husband, you love your children. It is a joy to serve them. So I'm not saying that I was unhappy in my servitude, but I did not realize how tired I was. That, I guess that's what I'm trying to communicate. I had no idea how tired I was until I finally got a chance to rest. Chaz B98 says, a relationship with the right person is good. I would much prefer to be single than be in a relationship with the wrong person. Exactly. I don't like the stress. If it doesn't bring me peace, I don't want it. Exactly, Chaz. See, this is what a lot of women have to realize when you get into these relationships, and this is the other thing that these relationship coaches don't really touch on. They don't really touch on compatibility and the woman being happy. All they talk about is what you got to do to attract him, what you got to do to make him happy. But what about your happiness? What about things that you need to identify in that man where he's going to be also giving you something back in that relationship? They don't talk enough about that. I've seen them skim over it, but for the most part, they go right back to what you can do to serve others. And I'm telling you that life of servitude, there's a certain satisfaction in it, but if you're not getting nurtured and watered in return, you will be tired. It will take a lot out of you. So you need a man that also knows how to reward you for your hard work and realize that the work that you do, the giving of yourself that you do on a daily basis, that in and of itself is worth more than gold. And if you find a man that realizes that, and he realizes that he also needs to show you something and make you happy, then a situation like that would work. But if you're just giving and giving and giving, and you got a lot of people in your life just taking, becoming entitled, thinking that you're their slave, yeah, it's going to take a lot out of you. And you'll become like I see a lot of older black women in my age bracket, when they become single, they don't have the desire to get with any man anymore because they're tired. They've already done that. Gia Girl says being single is a blessing, but many singles don't know it until they realize that they married the wrong person. Exactly. But now, if you marry the right person, like my husband, we were young, and my husband died when he was young. I don't know what our marriage would have been like if we still been together. But, he was the ideal person. I really believe that he was my soulmate. Because, I'm going to tell you something about my husband. My husband wasn't rich. He was a blue-collar guy. He was a truck driver. He had a couple of businesses on the side, and he was a provider, great provider. We didn't really want for anything. My husband had that little hood swag with him, so I kind of, knew that my husband had the ability to protect me because he had that testosterone. I can't really describe it, but it was very how can I say, attractive to me. The fact that I knew my husband, if need be, he could tear through a brick wall to protect me. That was attractive to me. So, he wasn't a lame or anything like that, but at the same time, my husband was very smart. He was into metaphysics, mathematics, and different things of that nature. And he knew how to nurture and water a wife in a relationship. So, even though I did a lot of things around the home, I did a lot of work and servitude to him, I did it happily because my husband made me happy. Gia Girl said exactly, compatibility. And they plan for the wedding, but no one makes good plans for being with the same person for the rest of their life. Exactly. No, I don't see anybody really planning anymore. We're just out here doing the most. Sex is a recreational activity. We use it for recreation instead of for intimacy. Back when my husband and I were young, we didn't have sex right away. It was kind of the build up, that made it exciting. And so when we finally did decide to have sex, it was for intimacy. It was a kind of act that we were showing towards each other our love for one another in that act. But now, people have kind of reduced the sex act to just nothing. It's just I don't know. It's not something that's valuable anymore. It's a novelty now. Sex is a novelty now. We've cheapened the value of sex. And so when I see these women running around here with that if you can't beat them, join them mentality, yeah, I'll share penis mentality, it saddens me. It's way too many women that are willing to do this, by the way. And that cheapens the value of women when you have women like this running around. So that's why it's so important, the messages that we put out there. There are men out here, men are going to put out the message that sex should be free. Women should just be free with their bodies. They're going to preach that until they can't preach it anymore because they want it to be free. They want it to be easy. That's the reason why they tell you that you have too many standards. And that's the reason why you're going to be single and alone. Because your standards are so high, you're going to be single and alone. So that is supposed to prompt you to lower your standards so that you could be easy and free. And I love my sisters too much to go along with that rhetoric just in the name of you having somebody. I love my sisters too much to follow along with that mantra. I'm probably not going to be popular because I am very conservative in my point of view. I'm not going to give you stories of me out partying when I was young, even though I did party. Hey, Faith had a whole phase too, okay? I did party when I was young, but I'm not going to give you those stories like that and glamorize, being free with your body and stuff like that. There were things that I did that were absolute mistakes that I would not glorify to anybody. Like there was a time when me and my girlfriends, we were very young. We were so young we had to get fake IDs at the time to get into certain clubs because certain clubs were like 21 and up, and we weren't even in our 20s yet. And I'm talking about we used to go out and get these fake IDs, and we used to get drunk, doing just stupid stuff, not watching our drinks, passing out anywhere. I did that when I was younger. young and dumb. So I know how easy it is to manipulate a young person, even when they become an adult. It is so easy because in our young minds, we just want to have fun. We just want to party. We're not thinking long term. We're not thinking about what it looks like, what's appropriate. We're just thinking about what's fun. So no, I would never glorify, my glory days. The same way I wouldn't glorify becoming a single mother when I became a single mother. I would not sit up here and say it's a badge of honor. Because it wasn't. It was hard as hell. It was hard as hell. So why would I sit up there and pitch it off as if I can do it, you can do it too, as if it's something that I should be encouraging young women to do. Now, I will say that if you are a young lady and you find yourself in a situation where you are a single mother, I will say that you can get through it, but I would not recommend it if you're not. Children are always best when they have two parents in the home, preferably two parents who have made a lifetime commitment to each other. And I'll just leave that at that. But if you are so happen to find yourself to be a single mother, because I do understand that things happen. We don't live in a perfect world, in a perfect society, and there's room for all of us to live. Sansa Ray passing has made me realize that even more. I've always thought this, but it's made me realize that even more. There's room for all of us to live. So if you're a single mother, it's also not a scarlet letter to be a single mother either. Because as I stated before in many of my other videos, there are other, societies, other races of people where they don't demonize their single mothers like we do in our community. They rally around their single mothers and they try to foster support programs for them so that those children can grow up in a productive and happy home, whether it be a single mother home or a two-parent home. It's all about creating a good atmosphere for the children. And you cannot create a good atmosphere for the children by beating their parent down. And going back to Sansa Ray had children. She was the mother of a young girl and a young boy. And here we were beating her down every day. How do you think that would affect her emotional psyche and her having to also be a single mother and deal with her children if her community is beating her down on a daily basis? I don't see the benefit in that either. I know that we want to deter single motherhood, but at the same time, we cannot do it at the expense of beating down a child's parent, and that child needs their parent. See, we as black people, we have to think a lot of times before we act, before we speak, before we open our mouths. Because I feel like we need strong families, period. And single parent families are families. Now, we got a lot of weak two-parent households that we don't talk about. We need strong families, period. Whether it be single parent family or two-parent family, we simply need strong families. And beating down women like Sansa Ray who have to raise our youth is counterproductive. We have to create an environment just like other people in other societies have, because everybody have situations where someone finds themselves a single parent. We're not saying that we're promoting it, but we also have to look at the children that are in the current situation. And beating that parent down is not the answer either. I feel like we can promote two parent households without beating down one parent households. But for some reason or another, black people, we act like we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Now, there's a lot of things that I wanted to get into, but I'm not going to do it in this video with me driving down the road. Like I said, I got some videos on ice. I'm working on doing pre-recorded videos, and I'll drop a lot of that stuff in that content. Oh, good morning at Bixney. Chasby98 says decreasing single motherhood and promoting marriage. Single mothers should not even be part of the conversation. Exactly. You know, what I think that we should do, we can promote two parent families without even mentioning single mothers, without even downing them. You know, we don't even have to put them down. We should just be promoting and uplifting two parent households. We can promote and uplift without putting someone else down. And I think that's the problem that we have in the black community. We feel like we have to put somebody else down in order to uplift something else that's on our agenda. And I think that we go wrong when we do things like that, because we already have 70% of our children, 70% of the children. That 70% number, that is not the number of women who are single mothers. That's the number of our children who are in single mother households. We have approximately 53% of black women who are single mother. 47% of black women don't even have children. That is a little known fact. But people that don't know how to crunch numbers or read numbers, they will say that it's 70% of black women, and that's not true. That's not the case at all. That the 70% is the number of children, not the number of women. So if we have such a high number of children living in single parent households, it is counterproductive to put down single parents and make them feel less than, to the point where we have people wanting to opt out of life and leave behind their children that need them so much. We can uplift one thing without tearing down the other. Chaz B98 says the focus should be on the young men and women who don't have children. Exactly. Ab Dixney says had a month off, started back at work Wednesday. Ooh, wow. I know you feel good and refreshed, and I know you're glad to be back to work too. Ab Dixney says, how come the men get off scot-free and the women get blamed only? My mother used to say they only hang who they catch. That's true. They only hang who they catch. And unfortunately, because biologically the women are the carriers of the children, we are the ones left holding the bag, and that's right. So unfortunately, that's where, I don't understand when men talk about black women not having accountability, because women are made accountable from the time we decide to carry that baby to full term. We're held accountable. we are ostracized, publicly ostracized, because people can see us 9 months pregnant. We have to carry that shame for 9 months, and after, when we have the baby, we're shamed. So women have always been held accountable. I don't understand, this whole thing that men have with, women lacking accountability, when we're the ones that are visibly held accountable all the time. The men are not visibly held accountable except for through the courts, when they're finally identified. And then that's when you're held accountable financially. And like I said, and that's what makes it equitable. It's not going to ever be equal, because like I said, until men can carry babies, then it will be equal. But it's equitable. I would say it's equitable. Gab Business said I was suffering from cabin fever. I know, sometimes you got to get out the house. I would get out of the house, just to go for a walk or a jog. This corona thing, it can have you going stir crazy for sure. Definitely got to get out the house, get some fresh air, get on the phone, talk to some people. You know, you definitely will get that cabin fever, because that's exactly what was happening to me. And before my daughter came, that's what I was doing. Now, there's a lot of folks in my house. Well, it's not a lot of folks, just my daughter and her friend, but they got their kids and everything else. So, yeah, I don't have cabin fever anymore, needless to say. I want them gone. Let's see here. Chaz says also deal with trauma and psychological issues that lead people to making those choices in the first place. You know what, Chaz? I did mention that before. See, a lot of black men are wrongfully thinking that black women are having children for financial gains. And that's because they watch too many of these celebrities, these ball players, get with these mostly white women who get pregnant for the financial gain, because those guys have millions. But the poor woman, that's a whole nother story. These women, they're not getting pregnant for any type of financial gain, because most of these guys that they're getting pregnant by ain't got shit. Let's just keep it real. What a lot of these girls are doing, they're getting pregnant by these guys thinking that'll hold the guy there, that'll connect the guy to them some kind of way. I've seen that happen. A lot of these women get pregnant by these guys and decide to keep the baby because they think that, well, you know what, I didn't get much love from my family. This man didn't love me, but this baby gotta love me. And I mentioned that in one of my other videos. So there's a lot of psychological reasons that we need to look into as to why these women do have these children like this out of wedlock. Because it is mostly mental. Has nothing to do with financial. See, Spacely Man says also we need to stop supporting these negative rap songs and rap videos. They influence how our race sees each other. Exactly. And that should have been early on. I remember when rap music used to be positive messages to black people, like Queen Latifah, UNITY. Who was that? Oh gosh, I remember I used to listen to them all the time. I can't think of that rap group now. I'm so old. I'm having constant brain farts. I think it was KRS-One. He used to have a lot of positive raps. Him and Miss Melody. I used to listen to stuff like that. At Business said Will Smith. He was positive, yes. So rap songs that pretty much told a story of what was going on in the community, and it was cautionary tales of what you should look out for. I remember we used to do that back in the day, and some kind of way we got away from it and became more of a shock and entertainment. Kind of like how it is now in the social media world. It started out with black people wanting to help one another. Now it's all about shock and entertainment, beefing, tearing each other down. So yeah, we do need to be mindful of the messages that we're sending out to each other, both in the music world and also out here in social media at large. And like I said, I see a lot of young women getting on the YouTube panel, and I welcome them. But I also see a lot of young women leading other women astray. There's this culture of young women that's so superficial. They're missing the mark on a lot of their messages to other women. Their message is so superficial and hateful that when I can barely stand to be in a lot of their chat rooms to listen to them half the time. You listen to their voices are hateful. And I have a thing about, critiquing black women's voices, but there's some, and I know some of you know what I'm talking about. You can just hear the bitterness and the hatred in them. It's not about teaching. Like when I listen to Crystal and Carrison, I don't hear bitterness, I don't hear hatred from her. And I'm not even a swirler, by the way. But I do think she's genuine in what she's teaching. She's genuinely trying to teach, and I get the same feeling from Kendall St. Charles. But there's other black women on here that I've listened to, and they're not genuine to me. It is obvious that they're here, just to get paid. They're not trying to input any knowledge, or wisdom, or teach. I'm not getting that vibe from the younger women at all. And as a matter of fact, they're kind of, carrying on this superficial hoe culture. I'm not too much of a fan of that. I listen to everybody. I try to understand and try to keep up with the times because I don't want to be out of touch. But a lot of these younger women is too much emphasis on superficiality and not enough on substance and self-love and self-improvement. Let's see here. Chaz B98 says, you hold a bad man accountable by leaving him alone. Waiting for men to check other men is a fool's errand. Exactly. The same goes the other way around. Chaz B98 says, I love Kenneth St. Charles's voice. It stands out. Yes. Spacely Man says, some of the black female YouTubers are only causing division. Yes. Abisme says, I liked when you told your cautionary tale about dating much older men. I learned a lot from someone who was keeping it real. Thank you. And yeah, and that's what it's all about. You have to keep it real. You have to, when you tell your cautionary tales, as black women, we have to really, really be mindful that we're not glamorizing and glorifying our heydays when we were out here making mistakes. Because that's what I hear when I listen to a lot of the younger women. They're like, oh, yeah, back in the day, and I was doing this, and I was so hot, and and there's too much focus on glamorizing it that the people listening, they're thoroughly entertained, but they're not walking away with, this is a cautionary tale. What they walked away with was, wow, she really had a blast back then doing that foul stuff she was doing back in her heyday. And then they're going to run right out and try to, recreate the situation. That's what it sounds like. And when I tell my past stories, I try to be mindful that, I'm talking to younger women. I'm trying to be mindful of where their mindset is now. And I'm trying to be mindful of where I am now as a woman. Because I always, if you notice when I talk, I always separate my young self from myself as I am now. And I always tell people, hey, when I was young, this is what I desired. When I was young, this is what was on the forte for me, marriage. children. I said, and so there's nothing wrong with a young woman desiring these things, but this is how you're supposed to go about doing it. And then I outline the mistakes that I made back way back when, and I use it as a cautionary tale. But I don't ever try to glorify my heydays like, hey, this is what you should be doing. I had so much fun. I was so cool. I don't never want to give off the impression that any of the stupid stuff I did when I was young was cool, because it wasn't. See what you guys are talking about. At Bixby says men are on code, they won't snitch. Yeah, I do believe they have that no snitch policy down pat. But they're men. Like I said, men are always going to put messages out towards women that are geared towards us being easy so that they don't have to work hard. I expect that from men. Chaz B98 says, yeah, I'm tired of the femininity channels. Femininity to do with, oh, femininity has to do with the mind more than anything. It's not about the right shade of lipstick and love makeup. Oh, and I love makeup. Wait a minute, it's disappearing. It's about the mind. And that Bisme says, yes, they almost seem like they want you to envy them. Other content creators only talk about the fun and not the drawbacks. Exactly. And Chaz, you make a very good point too. I want to go back to your comment, because this is something I often thought about. Chaz is an enlightened woman, spacely. She is. The femininity channels, to me, they are kind of milking money, in my opinion. They're charging women for things that we have already ingrained in ourselves. Knowing the right fork to use, knowing the right shade of lips. And I keep trying to tell people this. What really helps with getting a good man to be when you're a good person, when you're happy with yourself and you're satisfied with your own life, you're going to have this serenity and calm. And no amount of you knowing the right shade of lipstick or the right fork to use or how to cross your legs is going to change you if you're not, because you can cross your legs a certain area, I guess, where the signal is spatchy. Yeah, I'm buffering. So I'm going to get off of here, but before I leave, I would have from this discussion is love yourself. There's plenty of room for everybody to live. Okay, we do not have to tear each other down in order to push an agenda. And you do not have to jump through all these hoops just to get somebody to love you. First, learn to love yourself, and then you can also love others. That's what you need to work on. Work on yourself first, and a mate will come. But at any rate, I'm going to be buffering and spazzing in and out because I'm getting close to this border. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off. You guys have a wonderful morning, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit that like button. Have a good morning.